welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be doing a rant video about how I broke my nose at boarding school. Okay, so today's video is going to be a rant video, and I don't usually do these on my channel because the channel is called Raving About, and I usually like to be positive and rave about things that I like. But sometimes you just have to rant, and I think it's important to speak out about these things because in the past we didn't have these platforms where we could do that. And Paris Hilton has recently come out and spoken about her experience at boarding school and the abuse she suffered and stuff like that. So I decided to make some videos on my channel about boarding school and my experience with it. So there will be a future video soon about how boarding school is like kid jail, or it was when I was there. But today I decided to make this video about how I broke my nose at boarding school, and I probably will be shaking in rage by the end of this video because the more I think about this and the way I was treated or not treated just makes me so angry. But please just watch this video until the end and then you can decide how you feel about it. Alright, so let's get started with the video. Alright, so this happened when I was 12 years old at the boarding house that was an old horse stable that was converted into a boarding house. Yeah, a lot of things happened that year. I was only there for a year, but that's the place where the resident ghost lives. If you haven't seen that video, I'll link it below, and it's also where we played the levitation game. Again, I'll link that video for you if you haven't seen it. But when I was 12, I was at this boarding house, and the second floor, like I've explained, has no wall. So it's like a barn with a loft, and the second floor had no wall, so it was like a straight drop onto the first floor. And that's really dangerous, and I really hope they have fixed that. I have heard that they've made some improvements since I was there, but yeah, when I was there, there was no wall on the second level. So what happened was I was lying in my bed, which was on the first floor, and at boarding school you have something called lights out, which is when they basically like at bedtime, the house mother or warden, the adult who looks after the kids at the boarding school, will turn all the lights off and you have to go to sleep. So it was 9:30, which is lights out time, and I was lying face up on my bed on the first level. And on the second level, one of the girls was packing for the weekend, because at this boarding school you could have 2 weekends where you could go home and visit your family in the semester, which is like a few months long. Anyway, she was packing last minute because, and this was on a Thursday night, because on the Friday afternoon, straight after school, she was going to go home to visit her family. So she didn't have time to pack after school on Friday, which was why she was doing it on the Thursday night. And this is a complete accident. Like, the girl has no fault at all for what happened. So as she was packing, a box like about this big, it was full of her study cards. It fell accidentally from the second floor onto the first floor because there's no wall on the second floor. But it fell and it hit me in the nose because like I was lying in bed waiting for lights out, and it broke my nose. Again, complete accident, not the girl's fault at all. And so yeah, my nose was broken, and the house mother came in to see what happened, because you know there was like all this chaos going on after this. The girl was like really apologetic and was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it." And yeah, it just was not her fault. It was a complete accident. And I think I was in shock because I didn't say anything. I didn't feel any pain yet. And the house mother came in, and then she went to her like office area, which is like at the front of the boarding house, and got 2 Panadol. She got 2 Panadol and she said, take these and go to sleep. We'll take you to the doctor in the morning. And you know, I was 12 years old, so I was like, okay, I guess that's what you do when this happens. But now that I think about it, 2 Panadol is not at or anywhere near sufficient for a broken bone, and like telling me to just go to bed until the next day. Like, what if I had had a concussion and I died during the night? Or what if a piece of bone from my nose had, like, I don't know, lodged itself into my brain and I got hurt that way? I don't know. But yeah, all she said was to take 2 Panadol and go to bed, and I was in shock, so that's what I did. Yeah, it makes me so angry thinking about this now. But the next morning I was like, okay, they're gonna take me to the doctor now. And by this time my nose had started to swell. There were bruises on my face. I started to feel a little bit of pain because I think the shock was wearing off. And I thought they were gonna take me to the doctor, but no, they didn't. So the rule back then was, if you can walk and you can write, then you can go to school. So since I broke my nose and my walking and writing wasn't affected, I got sent to school for the whole day. And again, this makes me so angry because I guess if I had broken my arm or my leg, they would have taken me to the hospital or the doctor. But anyway, I was there for the whole day from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at school, and by 12 p.m. lunchtime the pain had started to kick in, and my face was so bruised and swollen and I was in a lot of pain, but they still wouldn't take me to the doctor. Anyway, at 3:30, after school had been out for half an hour, they finally took me to the doctor. And by they, I don't mean the adults, no. It was a rule that the older kids had to take the younger kids to medical appointments. So the 16-year-olds had to take the 12-year-olds to any medical appointments. And thinking about it now, I'm like, they shouldn't have done that. Like making 2 minors, like 1 minor was responsible for another for medical appointments, which is just, it makes me so angry now. I'm going to be saying that a lot in this video, but anyway. One of the older girls, a 16-year-old, not the same one that broke my nose, she was actually 14, but one of the 16-year-olds took 12-year-old me to the doctor at 3:30. So she was responsible for me, and she had to like call up the taxi because this boarding school was in the middle of nowhere, and the next half town was 40 minutes drive away. It wasn't even a full town, it was like a half town, and like the actual town was about an hour away. So she had to like call up a taxi. This 16-year-old girl had to call up a taxi, book it. They gave her like a check to sign to pay for it, and she had to take me to the doctor because there were like, I don't know, a handful of adults for over 200 girls. So that's what they did. They make the older girls take the younger girls to medical appointments, and I had to do the same thing when I was 16, which I will tell you about in my next video about boarding school. But anyway, finally got to the doctor in the afternoon after an hour, so it would have been like 4:30 in the afternoon, and I had broken my nose 9:30 p.m. the previous night, so it was a long time before I got medical attention. Anyway, we were at the doctor, the older girl signed me in and everything because it was her responsibility to do so. And the doctor came out, we did x-rays and stuff, and oh, okay, this next part makes me angry as well. So the doctor, after the x-rays were done and he had a look at them, he's like, yes, your nose is broken, but we're not gonna fix it. And yeah, that was basically it. He did prescribe me some pain medication, which I was able to get. But yeah, it was never fixed, and to this day, it is still broken. You can't notice it unless I point it out, but yeah, it's still broken. It doesn't hurt or anything, but yeah, it makes me so angry because I was 12 and this other girl was 16, so we were both minors, and in Australia, if you're under 18, you don't, back then you had no say in anything, so like, we couldn't insist that I get proper medical attention. But anyway, I got my medication and the girl took me back to the boarding school, and yeah, by that time I was just like in so much pain. I took the medicine and kind of just went to sleep until dinner. And I didn't even get put into the sick bay. Like, they have a sick bay where like injured and sick students are supposed to go, but again, the nurse, like, unless you're on death's door and almost dying, she won't let you stay there. So I wasn't allowed to stay at the sick bay, so I just slept at the boarding house. Again, like, what if I had a concussion? I could have died, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, like, oh, okay. So that's what happened when I broke my nose, and the story doesn't end there, it keeps going. So of course, like, all the other girls were like concerned about me and stuff, and like, you know, asked if I was okay, that sort of thing. And like, the girl whose box fell and broke my nose was like so apologetic, and again, it was a complete accident, not her fault. Yeah, if anything, they should have made the boarding house safe and put a wall in. But anyway, so because I broke a bone, they had to contact my foster parents, and again, like, my foster parents are so evil, or they were, like, oh my gosh. So when the house mother called up my foster parents, spoke to my foster dad, you'd think like any normal parent would be concerned for their child's health and safety, but no. The first thing my foster father said when he heard about this was not, is she okay? It was, is she ugly now? Like, oh, it makes me so angry. Like, that was the first thing he said. He didn't ask if I was fine, if I was okay, what happened. The first thing he said was, is she ugly now? And I know this because the house mother told me, and she thought it was hilarious. The adults there just failed us in so many ways. And this is like a mild thing that happened. Like, it wasn't even the worst of the abuse. Anyway, so this story does not end there. It keeps going again. Okay, I'm like so mad right now, but I'll keep going and tell you the end of the story. So 2 days after I broke my nose, and it wasn't fixed, I was just on medication for it, for the pain, the principal called me into her office. And at first I was like, oh, maybe she's concerned, maybe she's checking if I'm okay. No, that's not what happened. So I went into the principal's office, which was like a little further from where the boarding house was. Like, you had to walk up to it, and this was like at night, like 8:30 at night before lights out. And I sat down in front of her desk and she was behind her desk, and she was angry because my foster parents had requested extra leave for me. So at this boarding school, you had 2 weekends that you could go home during the semester and visit family, and in that semester I had already used up my 2 weekends, one for a concert and one for something else, and I had no idea that my foster parents were doing this, but they called up the school and asked the principal if I could have extra leave because I broke my nose. And like, I didn't want that at all. I really didn't like my foster parents. I hated them. I didn't want to see them. Yeah. So the principal was angry because she thought like I had requested it. I don't know why. Like, I didn't say anything about extra leave. My foster parents were the ones who called up about it. But she was like yelling at me, screaming, saying I was like a spoiled brat asking for extra leave because I broke my nose. And again, this makes me so angry because like, what if someone had like broken their wrist or their hand or their arm or their leg? Like, would you not give them extra leave to be able to see their family? Like, maybe they had a loving family and their family is like concerned about them. But yeah, it makes me so angry that like none of the adults cared if I was okay or not. Like, I had broken a bone and it was not fixed. I didn't get proper medical attention. All I got was like painkillers that were stronger than Panadol from the doctor, and just told to deal with it until it healed on its own. And the fact that this principal was yelling at me, calling me a spoiled brat for this extra leave that I didn't even know about, just makes me so angry now. But back then I was 12 years old and I was so beaten down by all the abuse I had suffered until then that I didn't say anything because I knew that arguing would just be pointless. No one would listen to my point of view, and there was no way to like get help back then. I remember one time 3 of us walked 40 minutes to a payphone to call the kids helpline to try and get help because we were being abused, and the person on the other end of the phone thought we were making it up, like it was a prank. And we called them 3 times and tried to explain that it's not a prank, this is real, we're trying to get help. And they just thought it was a prank and kept hanging up on us. So the 4th time my friend called up and like made up this story about breaking up with her boyfriend and how she was upset about it, and the person on the phone stayed on the phone with her for 40 minutes trying to comfort her about this like fake breakup. And then at the end she was like, that was the prank. I don't have a boyfriend, we didn't break up, like how dare you talk to me for 40 minutes about this fake thing and not take us seriously when we're trying to get actual help. And again, the person hung up. It was just like so frustrating. And like, that person, she didn't take nothing from nobody, and she was like the bravest out of all of us, which is why she did what she did. And like, even then we still didn't get help. And after that we were like, okay, well, we can't rely on the kids helpline to help us because they'll just think it's a prank. So then we just walked 40 minutes back to the boarding house and then never tried to get help that way again. But anyway, I'm trying to like put things into perspective for those of you who might be younger and grew up with technology. Back then we had no social media or like camera phones or any way to record the proof of the abuse, so it was basically just your word against the adults, and of course they'd always believe the adults over the kids because that's just how it was back then. But anyway, this makes me so angry thinking about it. So yeah, that's the end of the story. I broke my nose at boarding school at 9:30 at night, didn't get medical attention until 3:30 p.m. the next day, and it wasn't even proper medical attention, like no surgery to fix it or anything, just here are some pills for the pain, take them until your nose like fixes itself. To this day, it is not fixed. It is still broken. And yeah, the 16-year-old having to take me to the doctor when I was 12, like, no way should minors be responsible for other minors for like that sort of thing. What if I had died like on the way to the doctor? She would have been responsible for me, and you know, she was 16. Anyway, it makes me so angry. And then not even that, like my foster parents didn't care about my safety whatsoever. The only people that cared were the other girls at the boarding house. And then the principal calls me into her office and berates me for being a spoiled brat because she thought I had asked for extra leave. Like, just, it makes me so frustrated and angry thinking about it now, but like back then we couldn't do anything about it. We tried, like we went and called the kids' helpline and they thought it was a prank 3 times, and then when it was an actual prank, they took it seriously. Like, what are you supposed to do? Anyway, that is the story for today. I'm sorry if I like got frustrated and angry in this video, but I think it's important to speak out about these things now that we do have, you know, all these platforms where we can. I'm so proud of Paris Hilton for coming out and speaking out about all the abuse that she suffered. She's nothing like that dumb blonde persona that she portrays in the media. Like, I used to think she was just like that, but she's not. She's a very strong woman. I commend her for speaking up about this because, you know, back then we couldn't, and people didn't know what was going on. It was very hidden. It was like the White House Boys. If you haven't heard about that, look it up at your own peril because there's so much abuse and even murder going on with that. I will talk about the issues with boarding school more in depth in my next video about boarding school, but thank you, Paris Hilton, for coming forward and talking about this, because it really did happen. Like, it happened to me, it happened to a lot of other kids, and now we can finally speak out about it and be believed, because sometimes when we did tell other adults, they didn't believe us. And yeah, like, I am so proud of her for getting her own finances in order so that she never has to rely on her family's money ever again, because they're the ones who sent her to that boarding school. And yeah, we were sent there against our will. Like, I'd say about 98% of us were there because our parents or grandparents or whoever our guardians were didn't want to deal with us, so they just sent us to boarding school. And yeah, we were abandoned and no one helped us. So anyway, I'm like going off on all these tangents now. The point of this video was that I was treated badly at boarding school when I broke a bone. And yeah, I should have got proper medical attention, and I should have got it sooner than I did. And I shouldn't have been berated by the principal who thought I was a spoiled brat. Yeah, like those were her exact words. Anyway, that's the video for today. I will be making another video about how boarding school was like kid jail soon, and that'll be up soon. But I'm just so angry, and I hope this gets out there and that people see it, and that other people like me who were abused at boarding school see it and speak out as well, because now we can. We're adults, we have voices. Anyway, that's the video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.